Hey everybody,
Fatbird Finds here.
I'm Mary Beth.
And I'm Laura.
Welcome to Tales from the Put-Out Closet.
Here we are.
Here we are.
We don't have our headphones tonight.
It's okay.
But we're going rogue a little bit.
They hurt my ears anyway.
I love them though. They're orange and blue.
That's true.
They're so brand. We're so on brand with those.
Yes. So if you're joining us on YouTube, we're doing this out of order. We usually do this on Saturday, but we're doing it on Friday night because Laura's kid and grandkid are visiting.
Yes.
So yeah, we're doing it on a Friday night.
It's going to be fun.
We're a little toasted, but that's okay.
It's going to be fun. And if you're just listening and you are not with us live, we are a little bit out of our element because we're doing it right after our live Friday night show.
Yeah.
And so if you hear us speaking with people, there are people in the chat watching us do this live.
Yeah.
But we're glad you're here. We're glad everybody's here.
Exactly. Okay, so recap. Our monster, our creature. We'll call him Little Frank. We have affectionately called him Little Frank.
We're very affectionate about him.
Yeah. So he's just chilling out in like this pigsty beside this house, and he's watching this family. We've learned this huge backstory about this family who used to be wealthy, and then they were like exiled from their country, and now they're just like living in this hovel of a place.
Yes.
Yeah, and he's observing them and learning from them. Yeah, it's really sad.
It's really sad. He's learned. He's got quite the command for the language at this point. I started to say the English language. That's not right, but for the native language, and
he's learning as he goes. He's learning all sorts of things.
And he's like loving them from a distance. They have no idea who he is, but I think he's just grown close in his mind to this family.
Well, they know that the people know that there's like a good spirit around them who's doing all these good deeds, like chopping wood and doing all sorts of chores.
Yeah, they wake up and there's food there and things like that.
So they know that there's something going on, but Little Frank has not like shown himself. So the last few chapters has been from Little Frank's point of view.
Yes.
And he's talking to Victor Frankenstein.
Yes.
Okay, so he's met Victor Frankenstein out in the wilderness. Victor, God bless his soul, Victor has been out like on this, I don't know.
Really, God bless his soul? I mean, we're not very much Team Victor.
Yeah, I don't like him at all. But he's been out on this journey, like this walk. He's like taking a walk out in the wilderness, and he's like trying to clear his head and like trying to get back to himself or whatever.
And he wasn't even after the creature. He just bumped into him in the wilderness.
It's like, oh, hey, there you are. Anyway, so Little Frank is he's like, listen, you're going to hear what I've been up to these last couple of years.
Yeah, he's reading him the riot act, as they say. He's like, you created me, and now you want to kill me?
Now you're going to listen to me.
Well, you're going to hear what I have to say first.
And let's just say, if we were Victor Frankenstein, we would feel like about this tall, because this Little Frank is like, he could be like a learned doctor. He's like so good.
Yeah, he's so great.
Like, he's picked up on phases of the moon. He's picked up language skills. He's like learning the girls' language a little bit.
Yeah, several of the people in the chat are like, man, I wish I was as well spoken as Little Frank.
I'm telling you. Little Frank is the hero of this story so far.
Well, at the moment.
Yeah.
For all we know at the moment. Yeah. But, we don't know the whole story yet.
I think things are about to shift.
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, so I'm gonna begin reading, Laura.
Frankenstein, chapter 15.
Is that 15? I'm not good at Roman numerals.
Yes.
Okay, so we're still from Little Frank's perspective. We're in quotation marks, so he's still speaking.
And one more thing before you start. I'm going to watch the chat, and when it's appropriate and I can remember, I will kind of address any comments in the chat. And if all else fails, we will do it between chapters.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions.
But you guys talk to each other because it's fun.
We have about 40 people on here right now, which is more than usual. Not everybody is into the book, but if you're just joining us for the first time ever, feel free to ask questions in the chat, and I'm sure those people who have been listening the whole time will fill you in, or we will stop and try to fill you in if we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, here, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we go. Chapter 15. Such was the history of my beloved cottagers. Cottagers.
No, not cottagers. Countenance and benevolence are the drinking words.
Yeah, if we say the word countenance or benevolence, you were to drink.
Mary Shelley,
Water, wine.
the author, loves these two words.
Yeah, whatever you're having, you have to take a drink. Chapter 15. Such was the history of my beloved cottagers. It impressed me deeply. I learned from the views of social life which it developed to admire their virtues and to appreciate the vices of mankind. As yet I looked upon crime as a distant evil. Benevolence and generosity were ever present before me, enticing within me a desire to become an actor in the busy scene where so many admirable qualities were called forth and displayed.
Wow.
I thought you were going to say something.
No, that's just a really deep comment.
Yeah.
From the creature.
His name's Little Frank. But in giving an account of the progress of my intellect, I must not omit a circumstance which occurred in the beginning of the month of August of the same year.
It's 11/11 on 11/11. People.
Something's
So
about to happen.
that deserves a drink. Everybody stop for a moment. Think of something you're grateful for. Make a wish.
Have your tea. Have your water.
Nikki's
Nikki.
going to play something for us, evidently, in the background.
One night during my accustomed visit to the neighboring wood, where I collected my own food and brought home firing for my protectors, I found on the ground a leather portmanteau. What is that?
It's like a briefcase.
Portmanteau.
Or a wallet,
Oh, I don't know that word.
I think.
Portmanteau containing several articles of dress and some books. I eagerly seized the prize and returned with it to my hovel. Fortunately, the books were written in the language, the elements of which I had acquired at the cottage. They consisted of Paradise Lost, a volume of Lives, and the Sorrows of Werter. The possession of these treasures gave me extreme delight. I now continually studied and exercised my mind upon these histories, whilst my friends were employed in their ordinary occupations.
Nice. So now he's got reading material, which wasn't that easy to come by in 1700 whatever.
Now he's got some literature.
Yeah. All through the book, anytime something's dated, it's 17 blank.
Yeah. I can hardly describe to you the effects of these books. They produced in me an infinity of new images and feelings that sometimes raised me to ecstasy, but more frequently sunk me into the lowest dejection. In the Sorrows of Werter, besides the interest of its simple and affecting story, so many opinions are canvassed, and so many lights thrown upon what had hitherto been to me obscure subjects.
I haven't read Werter. Have you?
No.
Okay. So I'm not sure exactly, I don't really know how to deal with the reference there. I don't really know what he's reading about.
That I found in it a never-ending source of speculation and astonishment. The gentle and domestic manners it described, combined with lofty sentiments and feelings, which had for their object something out of self, accorded well with my experience among my protectors, and with the wants which were forever alive in my own bosom. He said bosom.
Can you imagine? I know we're supposed to be going with it, right? We're supposed to be going with the fact that he's so not well spoken.
Yeah.
But like lofty, I mean, that's a really advanced concept.
Yeah.
For something to be lofty.
Just go with
Right?
it.
Okay, I will.
Little Frank is the bomb.
Okay, I will. You go, Lil Frank.
But I thought Werter himself a more divine being than I had ever beheld or imagined. His character contained no pretension, but it sunk deep. I don't know this word.
The disquisitions upon death, but I don't really know what that's.
Disquisitions.
Yeah.
What is that?
Somebody look that up in the chat. Disquisitions. I'm really not sure. It's like, acquisitions, but disquisitions. So I'm thinking things that you've lost.
Maybe.
The
disquisitions upon his death and suicide were calculated to fill me with wonder. I did not pretend to enter into the merits of the case, yet I inclined toward the opinions of the hero, whose extinction I wept without precisely understanding it. As I read, however, I applied much personality to my own feelings and condition. I found myself familiar, yet at the same time strangely unlike to the beings concerning whom I read, and whose conversations I was a listener. I sympathized with and partly understood them, but I was unformed in mind.
He's pretty formed.
I'm telling you, he's more formed than I am. I was dependent on none and related to none. The path of my departure was free, and there was none to lament my annihilation. My person was hideous and my stature gigantic. What did this mean? Who was I? What was I? Whence did I come? What was my destination? These questions continually recurred, but I was unable to solve them.
Okay, so a disquisition is a long, elaborate essay or discussion on a subject. The discussion of a subject. So I was wrong. So it's just like a dissertation, I guess, kind of. That's where I guess there's similar words, right?
Okay.
So I guess sort of like that.
What do you think is this name? Plutarch? Plutarch?
Yeah, the volume of Plutarch's Lives. So Lives is in italics. That's the name of
You don't think it's lives?
Oh.
I think it's lives.
I don't know.
It could be either.
Because I'm not familiar with that one either.
Yeah.
But you know what? I think
we're not as learned as little Frank.
So yeah, let's just take a moment. If you guys are just joining in, Mary Shelley, the author of this book, is the wife at the time that she writes this, the wife of Percy Shelley. And they've gone to this place, and she's writing as in a contest with all these men that are already well-formed and well-known writers.
And she's only 18.
And she's like, I love it. She's like name dropping like crazy. She's like, I'm going to show you. I've read Plutarch's Lives, whatever that is, and Werther and everybody else you've read.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that she's like name dropping all over the place.
The volume of Plutarch's Lives, which I possessed, contained the histories of the first founders of the ancient republics. This book had a far different effect upon me than the sorrows of Werther's. I learned from Werther's imaginations, despondency, and gloom. But Plutarch taught me his high thoughts. He elevated me above the wretched sphere of my own reflections.
Wow.
To admire and love the heroes of past ages. Many things I read surpassed my understanding and experience. I had a very confused knowledge of kingdoms, wide extents of country, mighty rivers, and boundless seas. But I was perfectly unacquainted with towns and large assemblages of men. The cottage of my protectors had been the only school in which I had studied human nature. But this book developed new and mightier scenes of action. I read of men concerned in public affairs, governing or massacring their species. I felt the greatest ardor for virtue rise within me, and abhorrence for vice, as far as I understood the signification of those terms, relative as they were, as I applied them to pleasure and pain alone. Induced by these feelings, I was of course led to admire peaceable lawgivers, Numa, Solon, and Lycurgus.
Yeah, take a drink and say those again.
In preference to Romulus and Theseus. I thought it was Romulus and Remus.
You're right. Yeah, there is a Romulus and Remus.
Romulus and Theseus. The patriarchal lives of my protectors caused these impressions to take firm hold of the mind. Perhaps In my first introduction to humanity had been made by a young soldier burning for glory and slaughter, I should have been imbued by different sensations.
Angela said, I'll take an assemblage of men.
Great.
Hey, nobody would even know that you've been sipping.
Me?
Yeah.
Why you say?
Well, you're just breezing right through that.
I feel like I'm really struggling.
A rural squirrel.
Rural
Hello.
squirrel.
Thanks for joining us.
But Paradise Lost excited different and far deeper emotions.
Oh, Paradise Lost.
I
can't wait to hear what little Frank has to say about that.
I read it as I had read the other volumes which had fallen into my hands.
Do you think there's any foreshadowing?
I don't know
coming
anything
here?
about Paradise Lost,
Okay.
I hate to admit.
Okay.
It moved every feeling of wonder and awe that the picture of an omnipotent God warring with his creatures was capable of exciting. I often referred to several situations as their similarity struck me to my own. Like Adam, I was apparently united by no link to any other being in existence, but his state was far different from mine in every other respect. He had come forth from the hands of God, a perfect creature, happy and prosperous, guarded by the special care of his creator. He was allowed to converse with and acquire knowledge from beings of a superior nature, but I was wretched, helpless, and alone.
I just started to say, now see, that you got to pause for a second. Now see, that's what I mean. Like, he is reading about the creation of Adam in this beautiful, depiction of this creator whom Victor is absolutely not, right?
Yeah.
His creator is pretty low.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now he's got that to deal with. So, little Frank, I wish you just would skip over Paradise Lost and move on.
Many times I considered Satan as the fitter emblem of my condition. For often, like him, when I viewed the bliss of my protectors, the bitter gall of envy rose within me. Another circumstance strengthened and confirmed these feelings. Soon after my arrival in the hovel, I discovered some papers in the pocket of my dress, which I had taken from your laboratory. Your. So he's talking to Victor.
All this time, he's telling this whole big story to Victor. I can't believe Victor is sitting still for it, actually.
Yeah. Victor's just sitting there like,
Oh, no. Victor, he's like, having some sort of fit, wringing his hands, woe is me, scum of the earth, whatever, but he just has no action to go with it.
Okay, so he's found some papers in the jacket or the dress which he had taken.
Yes.
At first I had neglected them, but now that I was able to decipher the characters in which they were written, I began to study them with diligence. It was your journal of the 4 months that preceded my creation.
Oh, holy crap. Are you kidding me?
You minutely described in these papers every step you took in the progress of your work. This history was mingled with accounts of domestic occurrences.
Oh my gosh. He's got his journal.
You doubtless recollect these papers. Here they are. Everything is related in them with which bears reference to my accursed origin. The whole detail of that series of disgusting circumstances which produced it and set in view. The minutest description of my odious and loathsome person is given.
Oh, odious. What a great word.
In language which painted your own horrors and rendered mine indelible. I sickened as I read. Hateful day when I received life.
Oh, no.
I exclaimed in agony.
Oh, no.
Accursed creator. Why did you form a monster so hideous that even you turned from me in disgust?
God, little Frank. Oh, this is a terrible, terrible moment.
God in pity made the man beautiful and alluring after his own image, but my form is a filthy type of yours, more horrid even from the resemblance. Satan had his companions, fellow devils, to admire and encourage him, but I am solitary and abhorred. Damn.
Oh no.
Little Frank.
I mean, come on.
Little Frank is not holding back.
If you hadn't felt sorry for him up until this point, surely this is going to do it for you. Surely, this is where your empathy comes in, right?
Notice that this isn't a conversation. This has been like chapters of little Frank just pouring his heart out. Fucking Victor hasn't said a damn thing.
Wait, in the chat, Jamie says, it's like finding out your mom got pregnant with you in the mud at the music festival.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
So, I mean, Victor hasn't said anything back at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's for the best. Victor doesn't have much good to contribute anyway.
Yeah.
And holy cow. I mean, that is some kind of something. I mean, he's like all alone in the world.
Carrie, it's after 11. I can say what I want.
How about that line? Even Satan has his fellow devils. Man.
Even Satan has his fellow companions, fellow devils to admire and encourage him. Mm-hmm. But I am solitary and abhorred.
Abhorred.
Shit.
Right?
No, this is the podcast. Yeah. We can curse on the podcast.
The bleep button.
I feel fine about cursing on the podcast.
The podcast is okay on, podcast platforms. Now on YouTube, it might not be so much, but that's okay.
It's fine.
It's fine.
These were the reflections of my hours of despondency and solitude. But when I contemplated the virtues of the cottagers, their amiable and benevolent dispositions, I persuaded myself that when they should become acquainted with my admiration of their virtues, they would compassionate me and overlook my personal deformity.
Who?
He's saying that...
Who?
He's saying that the cottagers...
Oh, I'm sorry.
He's saying that he thinks the cottagers are going to overlook what he looks like.
Oh, no. Oh, God.
Nobody can do that.
Oh, no. I'm getting ready to be sad.
Could they turn from their door one, however monstrous, who solicited their compassion and friendship?
Oh.
I resolved at least not to despair, but in every way to fit myself for an interview with them, which would decide my fate.
Oh, gosh, he's preparing himself.
I postponed this attempt for some months longer, for the importance attached to its success impaired me with a dread lest I should fail.
Yeah, good choice, little Frank. I'm glad he put it off. At least he put it off for a little while, right?
Besides, I found that my understanding improved so much with every day's experience that I was unwilling to commence this undertaking until a few more months should have added to my...
Oh, there's a word that I don't know.
Sagacity?
Nikki. It's Sagacity.
I don't know. Nikki even doesn't know
sagacity. It's like a 1700s
Sagacity?
word. So like maybe like sage. You know how people give sage advice? So like if you go back and look, a few more months would have added to my sagacity.
Sagacity?
You know, like sage advice. Have you heard people say that?
Yeah.
Okay. So like wisdom.
Yeah.
Okay, chat. Here we go.
Okay,
look it
chat.
up.
Here we go.
Google it.
Several changes.
We'll keep going.
Several changes in the meantime took place at the cottage. The presence of Safi diffused happiness among its inhabitants, and I also found that a greater degree of plenty reigned there. Felix and Agatha spent more time in amusement and conversation, and were assisted in their labors by servants. They did not appear rich, but they were contented and happy. Their feelings were serene and peaceful, while mine became every day more tumultuous.
Okay, so just as a catch up, really quick, the Cottagers, and he's talking about Felix and Agatha are brother and sister, I think, and Safi is Felix's long lost girlfriend who's just shown up.
Yeah.
And sagacity is the quality of being sagacious. Thanks a lot, Jamie. That doesn't tell me anything.
That is really helpful, Jamie.
Okay, Laura Moonwoman. See, I was right. Laura Moonwoman. Deep insight, intelligence, understanding, judgment, acuity. So
the quality of
Kitty
being
Cat said the
sagacious.
same thing. He's like, thanks,
Great.
Google.
Thanks so much, Google.
Yes, I was wrong on the first one, but I was okay on this one, or close.
Increase of knowledge only discovered to me more clearly what a wretched outcast I was.
Felix is the brother Cottager.
I cherished hope, it is true, but it vanished when I beheld my person reflected in water, or my shadow in the moonshine, even as that frail image and that inconstant shade. So every once in a while he's like getting glimpses of himself, and he's like, ugh. Oh, it's so sad. I endeavored.
Shade. What a great word.
I endeavored to crush these fears and to fortify myself for the trial, which in a few months I resolved to undergo. And sometimes
what trial?
I don't know.
Oh, revealing himself to the Cottagers.
Yeah.
Revealing himself. Yeah.
And sometimes I allowed my thoughts, unchecked by reason, to ramble in the fields of paradise, and dared to fancy amiable and lovely creatures sympathizing with my feelings and cheering my gloom. Their angelic countenances breathed smiles of consolation. But it was all a dream. No Eve soothed my sorrows, nor shared my thoughts. I was alone. I remembered Adam's
He doesn't have an Eve.
Right.
He's Adam with no Eve.
I remembered Adam's supplications to his creator, but where was mine? He had abandoned me. And in the bitterness of my heart, I cursed him. Autumn passed thus. I saw with surprise and grief the leaves of decay and fall, and nature again assumed the barren and bleak appearance it had worn when I first beheld the woods and the lovely moon. Yet I did not heed the bleakness of the weather. I was better fitted by my conformation for the endurance of cold than heat. But my chief delights were the sight of the flowers, the birds, and all the gay apparel of summer. When those deserted me, I turned with more attention toward the cottagers. Their happiness was not decreased by the absence of summer. They loved and sympathized with one another, and their joys, depending on each other, were not interrupted by the casualties that took place around them. The more I saw of them...
So they're happy now that Safi has showed up.
Yeah.
You know, he was commenting on how gloomy they were all the time.
Right.
Now he's commenting on how happy they are all the time.
Right.
Okay.
The more I saw of them, the greater became my desire to claim their protection and kindness. My heart yearned to be known and loved by these amiable creatures, to see their sweet looks directed toward me with affection in the utmost limit of my ambition. I dared not think that they would turn them from me with disdain and horror.
Oh no.
The poor that stopped at their door were never driven away. Did you hear that? The poor...
Boot is over here hollering.
The poor that stopped at their door were never driven away.
Yes.
I asked, it is true, for greater treasures than a little food or rest. I required kindness and sympathy, but did not believe myself worthy of it. So he's watching, and he's seeing poor people like arrive at their door and asking for something, and they're not being turned away.
Right. So he believes in their character.
Right.
He loves these people. Like, he's been watching them for like a year.
Oh my God.
He's been feeding them.
He feels like
he's
they're
been
his
doing
family.
all these chores for them without any recognition. He loves them. He knows, he's gone through the low times with them and the good times with them.
Little Frank.
And he knows that they're
Little
good.
Frank can come over here.
He knows that they're good people and that they've been helping the other people that are less well off than themselves.
But here's the question. If some, gigantic
Jamie said this is ominous. I know.
If some gigantic man of a person just showed up at our door and was knocking and looked probably like this creature looks, we would probably not be very welcoming.
Quite the social commentary, isn't it? Even in 2020s.
Yeah.
And this was written in 1700.
Yeah.
And, you know, we should have come a long way from then.
Yeah. I
Right?
think it's a lot of different things though. Because as women, you're brought up to be fearful, to be fearful of men, strange men. Like when you're walking to your car, your parents tell you to interlock your keys between your fingers.
Yes.
They don't tell boys that.
Yeah.
So, women are just conditioned to be fearful of men. So, I feel like if this person were to knock at my door, I would be scared because I feel like I've been conditioned to be. But I don't like that.
Yeah, this wasn't written for you as a woman, for your perspective.
Right. I know, but I'm giving my perspective anyway.
Yeah, I'm just saying that you cannot compare yourself to how these characters act.
Yeah. I have to find my place. Why don't you say something for a second because I've lost it.
Okay, Jamie's wondering if they're describing Blake. Here. Okay. So, yes. Thank you. I'm reading back in the chat. Everybody take just a moment. We have paused here because obviously there is foreshadowing coming up. Lil Frank is telling his story to Victor, making him listen. Victor, we don't know this, but we can imagine that Victor's having some sort of episode in the corner of the room somewhere, pulling out his hair and, whatever he does that's not helpful. And poor little Frank is pouring out his whole entire story, and he's now to the part where he is working up the courage to reveal himself to these cottagers that he has basically fallen in love with, right? He is attached to these people, although they don't know him yet. So, chat, what do you think is going to happen when he reveals himself to these people?
Yeah, keep going.
Because Ruthie, I know it's really good. It's actually way better than I thought the story is, and it's really fun to do it in this manner because it's easier to understand. So, yeah, Victor's over there passing out and having his fits. Like, historically in this book, he has not done anything helpful. He has created this creature, let him go. He did not chase him down. He's bumped into him now 2 or 3 years later after he has left the creature to its own devices and to its own upbringing. And now the creature is telling him all about it. And the creature is so sweet. Little Frank, we have grown to love him.
Yeah.
We've grown to love him, but I think all that's about to change because, circumstances alter all cases, as they say. And so his circumstances are about to change.
So I've been drinking, so I'm not exactly sure where I left off, but I'm going to start here. I think this is where I was. If we've heard this before, just tell me.
Okay.
Okay.
And Jamie's guessing that they're going to scream and be terrified. He's going to snap and rip them to shreds. That's my prediction. Okay. So yeah, he's hoping again. He's just banking on the fact that they're going to love him like he loves them. And I just don't think that's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Just let me know if we've heard this before.
Okay.
Because I'm really not sure where I left off. Autumn passed thus. I saw with surprise and grief the leaves decay and fall.
I haven't heard this.
And nature again assume the barren and bleak appearance it had worn when I first beheld the woods and the lovely moon. Yet I did not heed the bleakness of the weather. I was better fitted by my conformation for the endurance of cold than heat. No, I think I have read this.
Yeah, you have read that.
Oh, no.
Wait, let me see. Here, I'll find it. You give the rest of your commentary and let me find it. Let me do it.
No, I'm going to find it. I'm just going to go to the next
well,
chapter.
we stop.
Or the next paragraph.
Oh, don't skip anything.
No, I'm not.
I thought you said you're going to the next chapter.
The next paragraph, I meant.
Thanks, Carrie. Carrie's like, yes,
oh,
for this.
I found it.
The poor.
That's where we were. The poor. Okay, here we go.
Okay,
I'm ready now. Sorry, I've been drinking a little bit. The winter advanced, and an entire revolution of the seasons had taken place since I awoke into life. My attention.
It's been a year.
My attention at this time was solely directed towards my plan of introducing myself to the cottage of my protectors. I revolved many projects, but that on which I was finally fixed was to enter the dwelling when the blind old man should be alone.
So he's going to approach the oldest person there.
Yeah. I had sagacity.
Oh, there we go. Now we know what that means. Wisdom. Yes.
I had sagacity enough to discover that the unnatural hideousness of my person was the chief object of horror with those who had formerly beheld me. My voice, although harsh, had nothing terrible in it. I thought, therefore, that in the absence of his children, I could gain the goodwill and meditation of the old De Lacy. I might by his means be tolerated by my younger protectors.
Okay.
So if he gets to the dad, he's going to be okay. By the way, we've got over 60 of you here right now. That's the most we've ever had for a podcast. So
yes.
Thank you all for being here. One day, when the sun shone on the red leaves that strewed the ground.
Can I just say that someone in the chat is believing that one of them is going to befriend him? That's pretty optimistic.
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah.
But, we'll see.
Yeah. One day when the sun shone on the red leaves that strewed the ground and diffused cheerfulness.
I'm so scared.
Although it denied warmth, Sapphy, Agatha, and Felix departed on a long country walk, and the old man at his own desire was left alone in the cottage.
Crud.
When his children had departed, he took up his guitar and played several mournful but sweet airs, more sweet and mournful than I had ever heard him play before.
You guys, if you've missed before, the creature cries whenever this man plays his guitar. He's so moved by the music. It moves him to tears.
At first, his countenance was illuminated with pleasure, but as he continued, thoughtfulness and sadness succeeded. At length, laying aside the instrument, he sat absorbed in reflection.
They're saying that the dad is blind. Is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I've said that 14,000 times. Pay attention.
Wait, this is a sweet moment. I don't want you to yell at me.
Yeah, he's blind as shit.
Mary Beth.
What?
I'm helping you with all these words you don't know and stuff, and I'm just pointing out one thing, and you're yelling at me.
Yeah. He is blind as a damn bat. Okay, here we go.
Jamie says, can't we just stay in the world where he peeps at them through the barn instead? And helps them?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Let's just,
The end.
The end. Okay. I'm not ready, but go ahead.
My heart beat quick.
Oh, no.
This was the hour and moment of trial, which would decide my hopes or realize my fears. The servants were gone to a neighboring fair. All was silent in and around the cottage. It was an excellent opportunity. Yet when I proceeded to execute my plans, my limbs failed me, and I sank to the ground. Again I rose, and exerting all the firmness of which I was a master, removed the planks which I had placed before my hovel to conceal my retreat. The fresh air revived me, and with a renewed determination I approached the door of their cottage.
Oh, no.
I knocked.
Oh, no.
"Who's there?" said the old man. "Come in." I entered.
Oh, God. There's no going back.
"Pardon this intrusion," said I. "I am a traveler and want of a little rest. You would greatly oblige me if you would allow me to remain a few minutes before the fire." "Enter," said De Lacy, and I will try in what manner I can to relieve your wants. But unfortunately, my children are far from home, and I am blind. I am afraid that I shall find it difficult to procure food for you. Do not trouble yourself, my kind host. I have food.
God.
It is warmth and rest only that I need. I sat down, and a silence ensued. I knew that every minute was precious to me, yet I remained irresolute on what manner to commence the interview, when the old man addressed me. By your language, stranger, I suppose you are my countrymen. Are you French? No, but I was educated by a French family, and understand that language only. I am now going to claim the protection of some friends who I sincerely love, and of whose favor I have some hopes. Are they Germans? No, they are French. But let us change the subject.
Oh, God.
I am an unfortunate and deserted creature.
Oh.
I look around and have no relation or friend upon earth. These amiable people to whom I go have never seen me, and know little of me. I am full of fears, for if I fail there, I am an outcast to the world forever.
Oh, God. Oh.
Do not despair. To be friendless is indeed to be unfortunate, but the hearts of men, when
DeLacy.
But the hearts of men, when unprejudiced by any obvious self-interest, are full of brotherly love and charity. Rely, therefore, on your hopes. And if these friends are good and amiable, do not despair. They are kind. They are the most excellent creatures in the world. But unfortunately, they are prejudiced against me. I have good dispositions. My life has been hitherto harmless and in some degree beneficial.
Yeah.
But a fatal prejudice clouds their eyes, and where they ought to see a feeling and kind friend, they behold only a detestable monster. That is indeed unfortunate. But if you are really blameless, cannot you undeceive them?
Oh, my gosh. Hang on.
Are you crying?
No, I'm just going to sneeze.
Do it.
I can't. But I was laughing because Jamie said he's putting too much on this. It's like going on a blind date and thinking he's the one before even seeing him.
I am about to undertake that task, and it is on that account that I feel so many overwhelming terrors. I tenderly love these friends. I have, unknown to them, been for many months in the habits of their daily kindness toward them. But they believe that I wish to injure them, and it is that prejudice which I wish to overcome.
Well, I'm just going to go with it. Never mind.
Where do these friends reside? Near this spot.
Oh.
We're
getting close now. Oh, God.
The old man paused and then continued. If you will unreservedly confide to me the particulars of your tale, I perhaps may be of use in undeceiving them.
Poor DeLacy. He's thinking that he's going to help this guy out.
I am blind and cannot judge of your countenance.
Oh, drink.
But there is
his countenance.
But there is something.
His poor countenance.
But there is something.
It's all dependent on that. That's terrible, right?
But there is something in your words which persuades me that you are sincere. I am poor and an exile, but it will afford me a true pleasure to be in any way serviceable to a human creature. Excellent man, thank you. And I accept your generous offer. You raised me from the dust by this kindness, and I trust that by your aid I shall not be driven from the society and sympathy of your fellow creatures.
I don't want you to miss anything happening in the chat.
Okay.
Someone said he never saw Mean Girls or doesn't remember high school. And then someone said, stop trying to make fetch happen, little Frank. Poor little Frank. He can't.
Heaven forbid. Even if you were really criminal, for that can only drive you to desperation and not instigate you to virtue. I also am unfortunate. I and my family have been condemned. although innocent. Judge therefore if I do not feel for your misfortunes.
Oh, so he's like, far be it from me to cast any stones. I mean, like, we've been exiled out of a different country. People think that we're bad people. Yes.
How can I thank you, my best and only benefactor? From your lips first I have heard the voice of kindness directed toward me. I shall be forever grateful.
God.
And your present humanity assures me of the success with those friends whom I am on the point of meeting.
Should we be relieved?
May I know the names and residence of those friends? I paused. This, I thought, was the moment of decision.
I know, Linda. DeLacy's being so kind and empathetic. So what the heck? What's going to happen?
This, I thought, was the moment of my decision, which was about to rob me of or bestow happiness on me forever. I struggled vainly for firmness sufficient to answer him, but the effort destroyed all my remaining strength. I sank on the chair and sobbed aloud.
Oh, no.
At that moment, I heard the steps of my younger protectors.
Oh, no.
I had not a moment to lose, but seizing the hand of the old man, I cried, "Now is the time. Save and protect me.
Oh,
you
God.
and your family are the friends whom I seek.
Oh.
Do not you desert me in the hour of trial."
Oh, God.
"Great God," exclaimed the man, "who are you?"
Oh, no.
At that instant, the cottage door was opened, and Felix, Sophie, and Agatha entered.
Oh.
Who could describe their horror and... Oh, God, I don't know that word. Who can describe their horror and consternation
Yes.
of beholding me? Agatha fainted, and
Oh,
Sophie,
God.
unable to attend to her friend, rushed out of the cottage.
Oh, God.
Felix darted forward and with a supernatural force tore me from his father, to whose knees I clung.
Oh,
In a transport of fury, he dashed me to the ground and struck me violently with a stick. I could have been torn limb from limb as the lion rends the antelope, but my heart sunk within me as with bitter sickness, and I refrained.
Oh.
I saw him on the point of repeating his blow when, overcome by pain and anguish, I quitted the cottage, and in the general tumult escaped unperceived to my hovel.
Oh. God.
End of chapter.
Oh, God. No. End scene. Oh, my gosh. Come on now.
Oh.
What is your commentary on this?
Oh, my God.
I know you're all into the reading of it. Oh, no. We've silenced the chat. They're not. I think everybody's in shock that this has happened.
Well, I mean, I
To
had
Lil
a
Frank.
feeling that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was about to make friends with the old man. They were getting on,
Because he couldn't see him.
right? But I mean, all the old man had to say was, "Hey, we've been talking a while. Hey."
Oh, no. I mean, I think it all happened so fast.
Can I just say something?
Oh, my God.
And I don't want this to come out.
Chat, what are you thinking? They're like, we're not hearing anything.
I don't want this to come out like insincere or not correct. I mean, obviously, I know that being blind would be a terrible travesty, but I think that being blind can also be a blessing because you don't have those prejudices. I mean, we all judge a book by its cover in one way or another in our lives, right?
Right.
And I don't want to sound like I'm being
Well, no,
insincere or something.
It's definitely one of the, there's good things
Right.
and bad things in everybody's
right.
situation.
I mean, I know
so.
that being blind, it would be terrible, but I also feel like it would be a blessing because you would never know what someone looked like, and you wouldn't judge that person on that. You would just imagine, you would base a person's beauty, quote unquote, on how they treated you or treated others. And I feel like that's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. It's deep.
You're deep.
Well, I mean, it's just so, oh my God. We have to find some sort of something nice to say because all this tragedy is about to start.
We've been on for 50 minutes. Are we going to go again?
We have to read the other chapter.
Okay.
I mean, we have to stay on because we've been doing 20 pages. I mean, that was.
Okay, we need to get on with it.
Okay. Here we go.
Laura's turn to read.
So you got to keep up with
I'm
the chat.
losing my voice.
You got to keep up with the chat. Chapter 16.
Chapter 16.
Cursed creator. Why did I live? Why in that instant did I not extinguish the spark of existence which you had so wantonly bestowed? I know not. Remember, he's still talking to the creator. Okay.
Yeah.
I know not. Despair had not yet taken possession of me. My feelings were those of rage and revenge. I could with pleasure have destroyed the cottage and its inhabitants and have glutted myself with their shrieks and misery. When night came, I quitted my retreat and wandered in the wood, and now, no longer restrained by the fear of discovery, I gave vent to my anguish in fearful howlings. Oh, God,
so he's just out there
I
was
was
moaning and
like a
groaning.
wild beast that had broken the toils, destroying the objects that obstructed me and ranging through the wood with a stag-like swiftness. Oh, what a miserable night I passed.
Oh, man.
The cold stars shone in mockery, and the bare trees waved their branches above me. Now and then the sweet voice of a bird burst forth amidst the universal stillness. All save I were at rest or enjoyment. I, like the arch-fiend, bore a hell within me, and finding myself unsympathized with, wished to tear up the trees, spread havoc and destruction around me, and then to have sat down and enjoyed the ruin. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Little Frank is no longer. We're witnessing a transformation.
Right.
Here.
He's gone from 1 to 10 in just a matter of seconds.
But this was a luxury of sensation that could not endure. I became fatigued with excess of bodily exertion and sank on the damp grass in the sick impotence of despair. He's
worn himself out.
Yeah. There was none among the myriads of men that existed who would pity or assist me. And should I feel kindness toward my enemies? No. From that moment, I declared everlasting war against the species, and more than all, against him who had formed me and sent me forth to this insupportable misery.
I mean, he has spent like a year, observing these people and watching these people and falling in love with these people.
Right.
He has fallen in love with these people, and he finally worked up the nerve to go to them and
they pass out and beat him.
Yeah.
The sun rose. I heard the voices of men and knew that it was impossible to return to my retreat during that day. Accordingly, I hid myself in some thick underwood, determining to devote the ensuing hours to reflection on my situation. The pleasant sunshine and the pure air of day restored me to some degree of tranquility, and when I considered what had passed at the cottage, I could not help believing that I had been too hasty in my conclusions. Oh, Frank. I had certainly acted imprudently. It was apparent that my conversation had interested the father in my behalf, and I was a fool in having exposed my person to the horror of his children. I ought to have familiarized the old DeLacy to me, and by degrees to have discovered myself to the rest of his family, when they should have been prepared for my approach. But I did not believe my errors to be irretrievable, and after much consideration I resolved to return to the cottage, seek the old man, and buy my representations with him to my party.
So he's going back.
He's going back.
I feel like that's a pretty decent idea.
These thoughts calmed me, and in the afternoon I sank into a profound sleep, but the fever of my blood did not allow me to be visited by peaceful dreams. The horrible scene of the preceding day was forever acting before my eyes.
I bet.
The females were flying, and the enraged Felix tearing me from his father's feet.
He has PTSD.
Yep. I awoke exhausted, and finding that it was already night, I crept forth from my hiding place and went in search of food. When my hunger was appeased, I directed my steps toward the well-known path that conducted to the cottage. All there was at peace. I crept into my hovel and remained in silent expectation of the accustomed hour when the family arose. That hour passed. The sun mounted high in the heavens, but the cottagers did not appear.
Uh-oh.
I trembled violently, apprehending some dreadful misfortune. The inside of the cottage was dark, and I heard no motion. I cannot describe the agony of this suspense.
Oh, no. Have they left?
Presently, 2 countrymen passed by, but pausing near the cottage, they entered into conversation, using violent gesticulations. But I did not understand,
Gesticulations.
like gestures.
No, I like that
Oh,
word.
okay. But I did not understand what they said as they spoke the language of the country, which differed from that of my protectors.
German.
Yeah. So, remember they have immigrated from France or whatever. Soon after, however, Felix approached with another man. I was surprised, as I knew that he had not quitted the cottage that morning, and waited anxiously to discover from his discourse the meaning of these unusual appearances. "Do you consider," said his companion to him, "that you will be obliged to pay 3 months' rent and to lose the produce of your garden? I do not wish to take any unfair advantage, and I beg, therefore, that you will take some days to consider of your determination." So I think that Felix is talking to his landlord saying, we're getting the heck out of Dodge, man. And he's trying to make him stay.
Yeah.
"It is utterly useless," replied Felix. "We can never again inhabit your cottage. The life of my father is in the greatest danger, owing to the dreadful circumstance that I have related. My wife and my sister will never recover from their horror. I entreat you not to reason with me any more. Take possession of your tenement and let me fly from this place."
Oh, no.
Felix trembled violently as he said this.
I wonder what the dad has to say. I feel like the dad would be like, "Hey, man, we were having a good conversation."
Well, poor dad, sometimes your kids are overbearing.
Yeah.
The dad's elderly, he's blind. The kids are like, "Dad, you don't even know."
Yeah.
You don't even. Felix trembled violently as he said this. He and his companion entered the cottage, in which they remained for a few minutes and then departed. I never saw any of the family of De Lacy more. I continued for the remainder of the day in my hovel in a state of utter and stupid despair. My protectors had departed. He calls them his protectors. It's so sad.
That's terrible.
My protectors had departed and had broken the only link that held me to the world. For the first time, the feelings of revenge and hatred filled my bosom, and I did not strive to control them, but allowing myself to be borne away by the stream, I bent my mind towards injury and death.
Oh, little Frank.
When I've thought of my friends, of the mild voice of De Lacy, the gentle eyes of Agatha, and the exquisite beauty of the Arabian, these thoughts vanished, and a gush of tears somewhat soothed me. But again, when I reflected that they had spurned and deserted me, anger returned, a rage of anger, and unable to injure anything human, I turned my fury towards inanimate objects. As nights advanced, I placed a variety of combustibles around the cottage, and after having destroyed every vestige of cultivation in the garden, I waited with forced impatience until the moon had sunk to commence my operations.
I mean, I feel like that's
He's going to wreak havoc here in the village.
I mean, who doesn't want to do that when they're angry? To just like break some shit.
As the night advanced, a fierce wind arose from the woods and quickly dispersed the clouds that had loitered in the heavens. The blast tore along like a mighty avalanche and produced a kind of insanity in my spirits that burst all bounds of reason and reflection. I lighted the dry branch of a tree and danced with fury around the devoted cottage, my eyes still fixed on the western horizon, the edge of which the moon nearly touched. A part of its orb was at length hid, and I waved my brand. It sank, and with a loud scream, I fired the straw and heath and bushes which I had collected. The wind fanned the fire, and the cottage was quickly enveloped by the flames which clung to it and licked it with their forked and destroying tongues.
He burning that shit down.
It's burning it down, man. Here we go. As soon as I was convinced that no assistance could save my part of the habitation, I quitted the scene and sought for refuge in the woods. And now, with the world before me, whither should I bend my steps? I resolved to fly far from the scene of my misfortunes, but to me, hated and despised, every country must be equally horrible. At length, the thought of you crossed my mind. So he's talking to Victor. I learned from your papers that, remember, he had his journal. I learned from your papers that you were my father, my creator, and to whom could I apply with more fitness than to him who had given me life? Among the lessons that Felix had bestowed upon Safi, geography had not been omitted. I had learned from these the relative situations of the different countries of the earth. You had mentioned Geneva as the name of your native town, and towards this place I resolved to proceed. He's coming after you.
Here he comes. He coming to Geneva. He's coming for you, Victor.
But now was I to direct myself? I knew that I must travel in a southwesterly direction to reach my destination, but the sun was my only guide. Man, I would be in serious trouble.
Would you?
Like, I could not find my way.
Oh, you could.
Really?
Yeah, if you knew you needed to go north or south, you would be able to figure that out.
Do you really have that confidence in me?
You just look at the sun.
You know I can't.
Laura.
You know I can't find my way anywhere.
You can figure it out. I have faith in you.
Okay.
You're like a botanist or something. You could probably figure that out.
Little Frank, I did not know the names of the towns that I was to pass through, nor could I ask information from a single human being. But I did not despair. I mean, he can't like randomly say, hey, which way do I go? People would like faint and beat him.
I feel like I'm getting a little drunk.
Oh, here we go.
As time goes on, as the longer I sit here, it's getting worse.
Yeah, here we go. From you... I think the reading kept you sober.
Did it?
Yeah. From you only could I hope for succor, which, although towards you I felt no sentiment but that of hatred. Unfeeling, heartless creator, you had endowed me with my perceptions and passions and then cast me abroad, an object for the scorn and horror of mankind.
Scorn.
But on you only had I any claim for pity and redress, and from you I determined to seek that justice which I vainly attempted to gain from any other being that wore the human form. My travels were long, and the sufferings I endured intense. It was late in autumn when I quitted the district where I had so long resided. I traveled only at night, fearful of encountering the visage of a human being. Nature decayed around me, and the sun became heatless. Rain and snow poured around me. Mighty rivers were frozen. The surface of the earth was hard and chill and bare, and I found no shelter. O earth, how often did I imprecate curses on the cause of my being? The mildness of my nature had fled, and all within me was turned to gall and bitterness.
Damn. Well, Frank.
It's winter, and I mean, I'm sure that they're using, it's no coincidence. Mary Shelley is comparing this change in Little Frank to the change in the seasons, the barren earth and the cold, frozen tundra.
Carrie, I actually have to go to the boat tomorrow. I have a $10 credit on my player's card that I have to use tomorrow.
What is Jamie saying? That mms are extra now. Okay.
I'm over here going,
Oh. That's what they do on podcasts.
Wow. I need like a little flute or something to like.
Oh, we definitely have to have that for the next one.
Okay. I'll get a recorder.
But a lot of the podcasts, they'll go,
Wow.
Yeah. The nearer I approached to your habitation, yours, Victor, the more deeply did I feel the spirit of revenge enkindled in my heart. Snow fell and the waters were hardened, but I rested not. A few incidents now and then directed me, and I possessed a map of the country, but I often wandered wide from my path. The agony of my feelings allowed me no respite. No incident occurred from which my rage and misery could not extract its food. But a circumstance that happened when I arrived on the confines of Switzerland, when the sun had recovered its warmth and the earth again began to look green, confirmed in an especial manner the bitterness and horror of my feelings. Yikes.
Slide whistle.
I generally rested during the day. And does anybody know what's going to happen here?
No. Do you?
Chat, do you know what he's referring to? What
No.
incident may he be talking about?
The death of the kid?
I'm kind of thinking so. I generally rested during the day and traveled only when I was secured by night from the view of man. One morning, however, finding that my path lay through a deep wood, I ventured to continue my journey after the sun had risen. The day, which was one of the first of spring, cheered even me by the loveliness of its sunshine and the balminess of the air.
Balminess.
I felt emotions of gentleness and pleasure that had long appeared dead revive within me. Half surprised by the novelty of these sensations, I allowed myself to be borne away by them, and forgetting my solitude and deformity, dared to be happy.
Oh, he's feeling pretty good.
Are you keeping up with the chat over there?
Yeah.
Okay. Soft tears again bedewed my cheeks. Bedewed.
Bedewed.
What a word. Isn't that good?
I'm going to bedew something.
It's kind of like bedazzled. Bedewed my cheeks, and I even raised my humid eyes with thankfulness towards the blessed sun, which bestowed such joy upon me. I continued to wind among the paths of the wood until I came to its boundary, which was skirted by a deep and rapid river, into which many of the trees bent their branches, now budding with the fresh spring. Here I paused, not exactly knowing what path to pursue, when I heard the sound of voices that induced me to conceal myself under the shade of a cypress. Have we got any guesses in the chat of what's going to happen?
It's probably going to be Justine and the kid or something.
I was scarcely hid when a young girl came running toward the spot where I was concealed, laughing as if she ran from someone in sport. She continued her course along the precipitous sides of the river when suddenly her foot slipped and she fell into the rapid stream. I rushed from my hiding place and with extreme labor from the force of the current saved her and dragged her to shore.
So he's got great impulses. He's a catch, ladies.
She was senseless, and I endeavored by every means in my power to restore animation, when I was suddenly interrupted by the approach of a rustic, who was probably the person from whom she had playfully fled. On seeing me, he darted towards me, and tearing the girl from my arms, hastened toward the deeper parts of the wood. So he thought he was hurting her.
Right.
I followed speedily. I hardly knew why, but when the man saw me draw near, he aimed a gun, which he carried, at my body and fired. Oh, God, he shot him.
Nothing good ever comes with some man, probably a white man, carrying a gun and just like pulling it on some creature that he feels like is dangerous. I feel like we could write a whole fucking dissertation about this.
Okay. So I sank to the ground, and my injurer, with increased swiftness, escaped into the wood. This was then the reward of my benevolence. Drink, everybody. Benevolence. I had saved a human being from destruction, and as a recompense or a reward, I now writhed under the miserable pain of a wound which shattered the flesh and bone. So he saved this girl and they shot him.
Yeah. He done been shot.
The feelings of kindness and gentleness which I had entertained but a few moments before gave place to hellish rage and gnashing of teeth.
Gnashing of teeth. We getting biblical, bitches.
Inflamed by pain, I vowed eternal hatred and vengeance to all mankind. But the agony of my wound overcame me. My pulses paused and I fainted.
Oh.
For some weeks, I led a miserable life in the woods, endeavoring to cure the wound which I had received. The ball had entered my shoulder, and I knew not whether it had remained there or passed through. At any rate, I had no means of extracting it. My sufferings were augmented also by the oppressive sense of the injustice and ingratitude of their infliction. My daily vows rose for revenge, a deep and deadly revenge, such as would alone compensate for the outrages and anguish I had endured. After some weeks, my wound healed, and I continued my journey. The labors I endured were no longer to be alleviated by the bright sun or gentle breezes of spring. All joy was but a mockery.
I feel like that's fortuitous. I mean, that could have gotten infected.
Yeah.
Good for him. It just healed though after a few days.
All joy was but a mockery, which insulted my desolate state and made me feel more painfully that I was not made for the enjoyment of pleasure. But my toils now drew near a close, and in 2 months from this time, I reached the environs of Geneva. So he's there.
Mm-hmm.
It was evening when I arrived, and I returned to a hiding place among the fields that surround it to meditate in what manner I should apply to you, Victor.
Victor.
I was oppressed by fatigue and hunger, and far too unhappy to enjoy the gentle breezes of evening or the prospect of the sun setting behind the stupendous mountains of Jura.
Stupendous.
Mary Shelley's not going to let go of this beautiful environment that they're in.
Mary Shelley's feeling it.
At this time, a slight sleep relieved me from the pain of reflection, which was disturbed by the approach of a beautiful child who came running into the recess I had chosen with all the sportiveness of infancy.
It's the kid. It's the brother.
Oh, my God.
He gonna die.
Suddenly, as I gazed on him, an idea seized me that this little creature was unprejudiced and had lived too short a time to have imbibed a horror of deformity. If, therefore, I could seize him and educate him as my companion and friend,
oh God,
I should not be so desolate in this peopled earth.
Oh no.
He wanted him to be his friend.
Shit.
Urged by this impulse, I seized on the boy as he passed and drew him towards me. As soon as he beheld my form, he placed his hands before his eyes and uttered a shrill scream. I drew his hand forcibly from his face and said, "Child, what is the meaning of this? I do not intend to hurt you. Listen to me." He struggled violently. Lenny. He struggled violently. "Let me go," he cried. "Monster, ugly wretch. You wish to eat me and tear me to pieces. You're an ogre. Let me go or I'll tell my papa." Oh, God. Oh, he's just a kid. "Boy, you will never see your father again. You must come with me."
Oh no.
Dun, dun, dun.
Little Frank just went dark.
Oh, God. "Hideous monster, let me go. My papa is a syndic. He is Master Frankenstein. He will punish you.
Oh,
you dare
no.
not keep me." Oh, so now he's revealed who he is.
He name dropped.
He name dropped to his demise.
Yeah, that shouldn't have said that.
Frankenstein. You belong to my enemy, to him towards whom I have sworn eternal revenge. You shall be my first victim. Oh, no.
Damn. Kid, you could have said anything. Don't ever give anybody your real name.
Oh, my God.
Just make up something. Zsa Zsa Newton John. Just come up with something.
The child still struggled and loaded me with epithets which carried despair to my heart. So he's still calling him names. I grasped his throat to silence him, and in a moment, he lay dead at my feet. Dun, dun, dun.
Little brother equals dead.
Oh. I gazed on my victim, and my heart swelled with exultation and hellish triumph.
Well,
I thought he was going to be sorry, but he's not.
No, he's like, fuck
He's
my
done.
life. I'm done. I'm going to just kill everybody.
Clapping my hands, I exclaimed, I too can create desolation. My enemy is not invulnerable. This death shall carry despair to him, and 1,000 other miseries shall torment and destroy him.
I can't say that I blame him. I can't.
Oh,
I can't say that I blame him.
He killed a little boy.
He did, but he has given it his best damn shot. He has been abandoned by his God, quote unquote, his creator. He's been abandoned. He's just been thrust into a world that he knows nothing about. He's educated himself. He's tried to overcome and talk to people, and he's just been like repeatedly just like torched and pitchforked. And now he's like, you know what? One more try. One more try. Surely a child, the innocence of a child. Surely I can get through to a kid. If I can get through to this kid, he will be my companion. He will like sing my praises to all of his people, and he'll be like my segue into humanity. And the kid is like, damn it, Shrek, ogre.
Shrek.
And little Frank is just like, I'm done. I am so over all you bitches. I'm going to kill you all. I'm done.
Yep, he's had it.
I don't blame him, little Frank. Little Frank, you haven't ever been taught right from wrong. Go for it. Just murder somebody.
Oh no, don't tell him to go for it. Okay, here we go. As I fixed my eyes on the child, I saw something glittering on his breast. I took it. It was a portrait of a most lovely woman.
Don't say breast.
In spite of my malignity, it softened and attracted me.
Justine.
For a few moments. No, it's his mom.
Oh, it's his mom. I'm sorry. My bad.
For a few moments, I gazed with delight on her dark eyes, fringed by deep lashes, and her lovely lips. But presently my rage returned. I remembered that I was forever deprived of the delights that such beautiful creatures could bestow.
Oh. It's like his first Playboy magazine.
Oh, yeah. And that she whose resemblance I contemplated would, in regarding me, have changed that air of divine benignity to one expressive of disgust and affright.
Affright.
You know, he's like, well, if I did see this lovely creature, she would just scream in horror and run away from me. Can you wonder that such thoughts transported me with rage, Victor?
No.
I only wonder that at that moment, instead of venting my sensations in exclamations and agony, I did not rush among mankind and perish in the attempt to destroy them. He's just like, I can't believe I didn't just go try to kill everybody.
Right.
While I was overcome by these feelings, I left the spot where I had committed the murder, and seeking a more secluded hiding place, I entered a barn which had appeared to me to be empty. A woman was sleeping on some straw. She was young, not indeed so beautiful as her whose portrait I held, but of an agreeable aspect and blooming in the loveliness of youth and health. Justine. Here, I thought, is one of those whose joy-imparting smiles are bestowed on all but me. And then I bent over her and whispered, "Awake, fairest, thy lover is near." He who would give his life but to obtain one look of affection from thine eyes, my beloved, awake.
Awake. I have a question. If you
We're
died,
almost done. We're almost there.
died, and then you like went not to heaven, but like an afterlife, and this guy was there, and he was like, "Congratulations, you did it. You passed life. Do you want to do it again? Do you want to go back and do it again?" It means nothing. It's just like a video game. You're just like in a simulation. Would you, and then he's like, you can pick your life. Do you want to be a good person or a bad person? Do you want to be a murderer? You want to do whatever. Like, what would you choose? Do you think it would be fun to come back and be a murderer and just like
no.
wreak havoc?
No.
I kind of think it might be fun.
You want to come back as little Frank?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Well, I mean, I feel like he is justified.
No.
Yeah, he
No.
is justified.
But he thinks he is.
He is.
He thinks he's justified.
He is damn justified.
He's ruined the lives of all these people, Mary Beth.
His life has been ruined. Fucking Victor and his ass just ruined his life.
Okay. So
he didn't ask for this.
So he's got the pendant.
You need another drink.
He's got the pendant from the little boy that he just killed.
Yeah.
He's got the pendant of his mother. He's got that clutched to him. He comes to this barn. He finds Justine asleep. He's bent over her, saying he wants to be her lover.
Yeah.
And wake up, and here's her response. The sleeper stirred. A thrill of terror ran through me.
Oh.
Should she indeed awake and see me and curse me and denounce the murderer? Thus would she assuredly act, if her darkened eyes opened and she beheld me. The thought was madness. It stirred the fiend within me. Not I, but she shall suffer. The murder I have committed because I am forever robbed of all that she could give me, she shall atone.
Yes, she shall.
The crime had its source in her. Be hers the punishment. Thanks to the lessons of Felix and the sanguinary laws of man, I had learned how to work mischief. I bent over her and placed the portrait securely in one of the folds of her dress.
Oh, he's planting evidence.
She moved again and I fled.
Oh, he got away. So he planting evidence. He is framing Justine.
Yeah.
Justine was framed by little Frank. Little Frank is just causing havoc.
Yeah. For some days, I haunted the spot where these scenes had taken place, sometimes wishing to see you, Victor, sometimes resolved to quit the world and its miseries forever. At length, I wandered toward these mountains and have ranged through their immense recesses, consumed by a burning passion which you alone can gratify. We may not part until you have promised to comply with my requisition. I am alone and miserable. Man will not associate with me, but one as deformed and horrible as myself would not deny herself to me. My companion must be of the same species and have the same defects. This being you must create.
And scene. He wants a woman. He wants a woman.
He wants someone to be with.
Yeah.
Wait, let me hold our place.
He needs some loving, and he wants a friend.
Little Frank is just earning his street cred.
That's right.
Jamie, since mid-century wasted.
I think he is justified. I am team Little Frank all the way.
No, you can be team Little Frank until he starts, killing people.
But here's the thing, Laura.
You can't be team Frank once he kills people. Here's
the thing, Laura, Lara. He has not been taught right from wrong. He has not been given that whatever.
Knowledge?
Yeah, he's not been given that knowledge. The
MB is ride or die for Little Frank. I know, right? I mean, it's tragic, but you can't be on his team anymore once he starts, wreaking havoc in the world.
I can be.
What if he killed me?
No. If you start murdering people, that's an issue because you know better. He wasn't given a chance. He was just thrust upon this world. He wasn't given a chance. It's like a dog. It's like a damn dog that.
Thus is the spirit of debate.
It's like some dog
happens with this book.
That some shitty ass person raises this dog, and it's a bad dog. It's not the dog's fault that he's a bad dog. It's the person's fault. It's Victor's fault.
I know, but nevertheless, you have
the dog doesn't know any better.
Nevertheless, you have to put the dog down.
I ain't putting down Little Frank. Little Frank is the hero.
Yeah, see, you still got to shoot the rabid dog in me. You know, nevertheless, you got to put the dog down.
Well, I'm team Little Frank through and through.
Yes, Carrie.
Here's the thing, Laura, Laura.
Here's, yeah, Bride of Little Frank. So that's what's coming up. Little Frank has laid the law down to Victor. He's like, okay, I have the upper hand here. I have you by about, 2 or 3 feet and all kinds of amounts stronger than you. You are going to have to comply to my demands. And my demand is that you make me a companion.
Yeah.
That's
Little
it.
Frank's getting him a woman.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. That's what I want. And I'm not going to stop until you give it to me.
Little Frank has needs. Mm-hmm. Wants.
Old Yeller. Little Frank is very Old Yeller. And
He's yearning.
You cry about it, but you know that this has to be done at the end.
Whatever. I'm just in a bad mood about it. Laura.
It's in a bad mood. I mean, don't get me wrong. I feel bad.
No. Here's the thing.
I feel bad.
Here's the thing, Laura. If you create a creature, and you don't teach it stuff, and then it misbehaves, it's your fault. I feel like Victor should be put down.
Could be.
I am all for grabbing some torches and pitchforks and going after Victor.
I know.
Here's the damn
torches and pitchforks are quite the image.
And here's the hell of it, is that Justine has been killed, the kid has been killed, and there's a creature on the loose, and he hasn't told anybody.
Who, Victor?
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
He's just keeping it to himself.
I know.
Having himself a little walk.
I know. It's really bad.
He's the worst.
Yeah. Trust me. I'm not.
I just want to punch him in the throat.
I'm not Team Victor at all.
I'm in a bad mood. I'm in a terrible mood.
Well, there's 45 of you guys that have hung with us. Thank you so much for watching. We've done 2 chapters of Frankenstein tonight, and we are obsessed. We are obsessed with all this conversation and this story.
Yeah.
What? So thanks for all your commentary. Victor is still the worst. You're right. Victor is still the worst. How in the world is this going to end?
I don't know. Not good.
I mean, can it be any worse? I think it can.
Probably.
I think it could probably.
It's probably going to get worse before it gets better.
I kind of think you're right.
Yeah.
So we're winding down. I don't know how many pages are left, but
we still have quite a good chunk left.
I guess we've got a couple of episodes left anyway.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
Guys, thanks for sticking with us tonight. I know it's late. If you're watching this on the next day, on Saturday, we're really glad that you're here. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast, please give us a follow. We would love for you also to come over and visit us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. Our regular gig is that we resell and we resell vintage collectibles and antiques. And yeah, it's fun. And on Friday nights, we have a few drinks, as you can tell, and celebrate the weekend. It's great.
That's right. We do that at 9 Central on Friday nights. And tonight we have done the podcast after the Flippin and Sippin. So that was kind of a fun experience.
And just in case that you have followed us over from Flippin and Sippin and you haven't watched the rest of the podcast, you can go back and watch the rest of them, and then you'll be all caught up.
That's right.
All right, everybody. I hope that you have a fantastic weekend. Do something fun. Yeah. Anything else, Laura, before we sign off?
I think that's it. I'm looking forward to the next one.
All right. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody. And as always, make sure you stay tuned to see what Fatbird finds next. And we'll see you next time.
Bye, everybody.